James stepped out of his black luxury car and walked briskly toward the building. Today was the biggest day of his career. A $300 million deal sat in the slim file he carried in his hand. He was heading straight to the client personally. As he turned the corner on 47th Street, he collided with a man coming the opposite way. Thump! The file slipped from his hand. Dozens of pages scattered into the air, some flying toward the street, others landing near traffic. James bent down immediately, trying to collect them. Then he heard a small voice. "Here, mister." He looked up. A little girl, no more than 5, wearing a pink polka dot coat, was picking up papers and handing them to him one by one. James reached for the pages, then paused. On her wrist was a bracelet silver chain, blue sapphire in the center. Feather-shaped charm. His breath stopped. He reached out gently and held her wrist. His eyes locked onto the bracelet. "Where did you get this?" he asked, barely whispering. The girl just smiled at him. At that moment, a woman rushed over, probably her mother, early 30s, a tired face but kind eyes. "Ava, I told you not to run off." She scooped the girl into her arms, then turned to James, apologetic. "I'm really sorry." She has a thing for picking up paper. But James's eyes didn't leave the bracelet. "Where did she get that bracelet?" The woman glanced at it. "Oh, that. She found it in a thrift shop. One of those donation boxes near our apartment." James's voice went soft, trembling. "That bracelet, it used to belong to my wife." The woman looked unsure. "Well, Ava says she dreamed about it before she found it. She calls it her lucky star." James blinked. "She dreamed about it?" The woman nodded. "Kids, right? Their imaginations are wild. Ava," she added gently, "say thank you." The girl smiled again. "Your papers were flying." And with that, they walked away. James stood frozen in the middle of the sidewalk. He held the papers in his hand, but his mind was spinning. "I buried that bracelet with my wife." Who? 30 minutes later, James sat in the boardroom, surrounded by executives and lawyers. A major deal was on the line. Charts were on the screen. People were talking. But he couldn't hear a word. His mind was still on that bracelet, that little girl, that strange dream. He grabbed his phone and texted his assistant Chor, "Cancel lunch. I need to go somewhere." Without another word, he stood up and walked out of the meeting. 1 hour later, James was in a cramped thrift shop downtown. The shelves were cluttered, the lighting dull, the air filled with the scent of old books and wax candles. He showed the shop clerk a photo of the bracelet. "Have you seen this? Did someone donate it?" The man looked at it closely. "Looks familiar. Could have been in that big donation box from December. Had jewelry, dishes, even some old letters." "Do you have any records?" James asked. The clerk chuckled. "You're thinking of some uptown boutique. We don't even have a printer." James searched the entire store, shelf by shelf, corner to corner. No clues, no leads, just more questions. That night, James sat alone in his penthouse. He held an old photo in his hand, Isabel laughing in Tuscany, the bracelet clearly visible on her wrist. A tear slid down his cheek. "I buried you wearing that bracelet. How could it end up on a little girl's wrist?" The next morning, he hired a private investigator, someone trusted, discreet, and fast. He gave him everything: a description of the girl, the mother, the location, and even security footage from a nearby cafe. "I want to know who they are," James said. "Where they live, everything. Give me 48 hours, the investigator replied. But James didn't want to wait. He started searching himself. Social media, thrift hashtags, NYC mom accounts, anything with bracelet posts. Then he saw it, an Instagram photo. The girl in the pink coat, the bracelet on her wrist. Caption, "Ava's lucky bracelet from the donation bin. She dreamed about it before we found it." Username, Hopeful Mama 212. The bio read tour, Rising Ava, grateful for second chances, NYC. He clicked through the profile. Dozens of photos. Ava, her mom, a small apartment. A simple life. Nowhere was Isabel mentioned, and yet something felt connected. A thought hit him. What if Isabel had a secret? A sister? A past he never knew? Or was this all some bizarre coincidence? James didn't know. But one thing was certain. He had to see them again. Not by accident, by choice. The next morning, James was already seated in his office long before the staff arrived. The skyline stretched beyond the floor, to ceiling windows. But he wasn't looking at it, he was staring at a printed version of the Instagram post. Ava, the bracelet. The caption, she dreamed about it before we found it. That line played on a loop in his head. How could a little girl dream of something she had never seen? How could she wear something that was supposed to be 6 feet under? James picked up his phone and called the investigator. Anything? He asked. Not yet, came the reply. No official records tied to the bracelet, but I tracked the account. Her real name is Hannah Reyes. She and her daughter Ava live in the East Village. Small walk-up 3rd floor, no listed spouse or emergency contact. James frowned. Keep going, I want everything. Family, past addresses, anything connected to Isabel Whittaker. You think this woman knew your wife? I don't know, James said quietly. But something's not right. That afternoon, James didn't go to any meetings. Instead, he took the elevator down, slid into the back seat of his town car, and gave his driver a new destination. East Village, corner of 11th and Avenue B. He rolled down the window as they approached. It was a different world, no glass buildings, no chauffeurs or security, just small shops, laundromats, old walk-ups with rusted stair rails and fading paint. The driver stopped. James stepped out, still unsure what he was about to do. He looked up at the building, 3rd floor. The curtains were half closed. A tiny pink wind chime dangled from the window. He didn't go up. Not yet. Instead, he walked to a bench across the street and just watched, and soon the door opened. Hannah stepped out, holding Ava's hand. They laughed as they walked toward a nearby park. Ava skipped ahead, chasing pigeons. James's heart pulled in 2 directions, curiosity and grief. Something about watching that little girl stirred emotions he'd buried. The way she ran, the way she turned back to make sure her mother was still there. It was so familiar, just like Isabel used to do. Not her now, but the child version he'd seen in her photo albums. To James followed at a distance, through the small park and down a quiet street lined with trees. He kept telling himself this was just information gathering, just confirmation. But deep down, he wanted to understand something no logic could explain. Then Ava suddenly stopped running. She turned and looked straight at him. Not fear, not confusion, just calm, like she already knew him. Hey, she waved. James froze. Hannah turned around confused. Ava, wait, what are you doing? James quickly stepped forward. I'm sorry, he said. I met the other day. I dropped my papers. Recognition lit up her face. Right? You were on 47th. You found us again. I didn't mean to intrude, he said. I was just nearby and saw you. That was a lie. Hannah gave a polite but cautious smile. Are you okay? You seemed shaken last time. James nodded. Can I ask about that bracelet again? Hannah looked at Ava. The girl had already sat down in the grass and started making a daisy chain. Sure, she said, but I still don't know much about it. Can I see it? They both looked at Ava. She raised her wrist and smiled. It's magic, she whispered. James crouched down. His fingers gently touched the bracelet. The engraving was still there. Still yours always. He knew it wasn't a replica. This was the exact bracelet he had buried with Isabel. He looked up at Hannah. This bracelet was buried with my wife. 2 years ago. Hannah's eyes widened. Buried? You mean, in a casket? At her funeral? Her mouth opened but no words came out. I saw it. I placed it on her wrist myself. For a moment, everything was silent. Even the birds stopped chirping. Then Hannah sat on the bench. Look, I'm not saying I don't believe you. But I bought Ava's coat from a second-hand bin, and she found the bracelet tucked inside its pocket. I thought it was just junk jewelry. She wouldn't let me take it off. James's heart pounded. The coat. What store? He asked. I don't remember. Some church-run place near East 6th. I go there a lot. He stood up. I need to go. Wait, what's going on? Who was your wife? James looked at her. Isabel Whittaker. My wife. She died of cancer 2 years ago. She was 37, and that bracelet was made just for her. No one else has one like it. Hannah stood too. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Neither did I, he said. Then he looked down at Ava, who was still playing quietly. Can I see her again sometime? Hannah hesitated. She's special, James said. There's something about her. I don't know. Hannah replied softly. I don't know what this is. He nodded. I'll be back, he said gently, and he walked away. That night, James went to the church thrift store. The cashier was a retired nun with kind eyes. He asked about the coat. I remember that batch, she said. Donations from a storage unit someone cleaned out. Sad case. Family never came to claim it. Belonged to a woman named Alina Reyes. James stiffened. Reyes? Yeah, she nodded. She had cancer. Died alone. Sister came by to drop off her stuff months later. James's heart skipped. Alina Reyes. Reyes. The same last name as Hannah. He pulled out his phone and searched it. Alina Reyes obituary NYC. It popped up. And there, in black and white, Alina Reyes survived by her younger sister, Hannah Reyes, died at St. Luke's Hospital, diagnosed with terminal cancer. Never married, no children. He read the last line again. No children. But what if that wasn't true? What if Ava? James felt like the ground had shifted under him. He rushed back to the car. There were too many pieces and none of them fit yet. But something inside him whispered, this child is part of your story. Whether he was ready or not. James couldn't move. People brushed past him like he was invisible. Just another man in a tailored suit holding loose papers. But inside, he was a man unraveling. He stood there for a full minute, maybe more, unable to take a step. The girl's face, the bracelet, the name Elise. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't grief tricking him again. It was real. That little girl, Emily, wore his late wife's bracelet. And she just said Elise was her mother. But how? James finally blinked, turned, and started walking. No, not walking, chasing. He scanned the sidewalks like a man possessed. He looked left, right, across the street. Emily and the woman were nowhere. He pushed past a group of tourists and darted toward the crosswalk. Excuse me, have you seen a little girl in a blue dress and a woman in a green coat? Blank stares. He ran half a block up the street. Nothing. Half a block back. Still nothing. He stood at the intersection, chest heaving. That same panicked feeling he'd had at Alyssa's funeral came flooding back. The helplessness, the regret, the ache of unanswered questions. This time, though, something was different. This time, he had a thread, and he wasn't going to lose it. Back at the office, James was a ghost in a glass building. The $300 million merger presentation still happened. He still stood in front of a sleek monitor and spoke numbers and forecasts, but he wasn't really there. Because his mind was replaying a name. Emily Rhodes. He repeated it like a prayer, hoping it would unlock something. After the meeting, his assistant Maya walked in with a folder. You okay, sir? She asked. You looked a little distracted. James blinked. Do you have access to public records? She raised an eyebrow. I mean, I can get them. Why? I need everything you can find on someone named Emily Rhodes. A child. Maybe 7 or 8. And her mother. I don't know her name yet. But anything tied to that name in this part of the city. Amaya looked hesitant. Is this for a case? James shook his head. It's personal. Over the next few hours, James went deeper into a rabbit hole he never imagined. Birth records, school registries, online photos, newsletters, local blog archives. He even paid a private investigator to cross-check addresses. Nothing concrete came back. But then, just after midnight, his phone pinged. Unknown number. You were looking for Emily Rhodes. Check the enrollment list at Riverside Day School. Kindergarten class, Ms. Adler. Good luck. James's pulse kicked. He opened the school's public newsletter archives. There it was, a photo from last month. Springfield trip, kindergarten. A class of smiling children holding hands. And in the second row, between a freckled boy and a girl with glasses, Emily, her hair tied in a ponytail, that same gap-toothed smile, and yes, the bracelet visible on her left wrist. She was real. Her name was real, and the bracelet was no fluke. The next morning, James didn't go to the office. He drove to Riverside Day School instead, a cozy brick building tucked near the river, surrounded by trees and chirping kids. He parked across the street and watched. Parents came and went. Kids spilled onto the playground. But he wasn't looking for crowds, he was waiting for one face. Then, just after 8:30, she appeared, The woman from yesterday, wearing the same green coat, holding Emily's hand. She bent down to kiss her daughter goodbye, then turned to leave. James opened his car door, but stopped. What was he going to say? "Hi, I'm the man from yesterday, and I think your daughter is wearing my dead wife's bracelet." It sounded insane, and yet, he couldn't let her walk away again. He stepped out of the car. "Mom," he called. She turned, startled. Recognition flickered in her eyes. "You from yesterday? I didn't get your name," he said, trying to sound calm. She hesitated. "It's Rachel." "Rachel," he repeated softly. "I'm James. James Whittaker." Her eyes widened slightly at the name, as if it rang a distant bell. "I need to ask you something," James said. "About your daughter. About her bracelet." Rachel's face tensed. "Why?" "Because," James said slowly, "that bracelet was made by my wife, Elise Whittaker, who passed away 7 years ago." Rachel didn't speak, not for a long time. Then she looked away, her voice quiet. "I was hoping this day wouldn't come." James felt like the ground beneath him had shifted. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice low, "but I need to understand." "What did you mean by that?" Rachel glanced at the school, then back at James. "Not here," she said. "There's a coffee shop around the corner. Meet me there in 10 minutes. James nodded, heart pounding. He didn't know what he was walking into, only that the last 7 years of grief were suddenly on trial. The cafe was quiet, mid-morning calm. James sat at a corner table, barely touching the coffee the barista placed in front of him. Rachel arrived soon after. She took a seat across from him, her hands wrapped tightly around her mug. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then James asked the one question that had haunted him since yesterday. "Is Elise alive?" Rachel looked up, stunned. "No," she said quickly, firmly. "She passed away. Just like you were told." "Then how?" James trailed off. "How does your daughter have her bracelet? Why did she call her mom?" Rachel swallowed hard. "Because," she said softly, "Elise was Emily's mother." James stared at her, struggling to process. "But I was her husband." Rachel nodded. "And I was her sister." Once the cafe faded away. James felt like the walls were caving in. Elise never said she had a sister. "She did," Rachel whispered. "But our family was complicated. Broken, really. Our mother left when we were little. Our father was cold. Elise left home at 18. I stayed. We lost touch." James's mouth was dry. "She told me her parents were both gone." "They weren't. Not then," Rachel said. "But to her they were. She wanted to leave everything behind, reinvent herself. So how did you?" "We reconnected. Briefly. After your wedding, I reached out. She didn't want much to do with me, not at first. But then, one night she called me crying." Rachel looked away, blinking back emotion. She'd found out she was pregnant. James sat up straighter. "Wait. What?" "She said she hadn't told you yet. She was scared. Said your company was taking off, you were under pressure, and she didn't know how to say it." James felt dizzy. "I never knew. She came to stay with me for a weekend. Said she just needed time to think, to breathe." That weekend turned into 2, then a month. Rachel took a shaky breath. "She left you, James. Not because she didn't love you, but because she didn't think she could be the mother she wanted to be. Not in the life you were both building. The spotlight, the pressure, she wanted quiet. James could hardly breathe. So she just disappeared, without saying a word. She wrote you a letter," Rachel said. "I don't know what was in it. But she told me she mailed it before she moved." James shook his head slowly. "I never got anything. Maybe it got lost, or someone intercepted it. I don't know." Tears welled up in Rachel's eyes. "She had Emily in a small town near Portland, used my last name, Rhodes, to stay off the radar. She didn't want anyone finding her. Especially not reporters, not tabloids. She knew people would ask questions." James's voice cracked. So all this time, I had a daughter. Rachel nodded. Elise passed away when Emily was just 2. Car accident. I went to bring Emily home, and I raised her. I didn't know if I should try to find you. Elise didn't want you to know. She made me promise. But she's gone, James said. She's gone, and you kept her from me. Rachel's voice trembled. I thought I was protecting Emily and honoring my sister's wish. James leaned back, stunned. Does Emily know about me? Rachel hesitated. She knows her mom loved someone very much once, that he was kind and smart and made her laugh. She doesn't know your name. James looked away, fists clenched. Then he whispered, I missed everything. Her first words, her first steps. School plays? I'm sorry, Rachel said, crying now. I was wrong not to tell you. The next few minutes passed in silence. Then Rachel said, she asked about you after yesterday. She noticed how you looked at her. She said, why did that man look so sad? James closed his eyes. I don't know what to do, he said finally. Rachel reached into her bag and pulled out a photo. It was Elise, standing in a sunlit kitchen, holding a toddler with wild curls and that same gap-toothed smile. She wanted her to know you, Rachel said. She just didn't know how. James took the photo like it was made of glass. Then very quietly, he said, I want to see her. Not just once, I want to be in her life. Rachel met his eyes. Then let's figure out how. 2 months later, it wasn't easy. Emily had questions. Big ones. James didn't push. He visited slowly. He brought books, helped with school projects, walked her home, and one day, while sitting under a tree at the park, she looked up and asked, Are you my daddy? James's throat closed up. Yes, he said. I am. She didn't say anything at first. Then she leaned against him, and that was enough. Epilogue. A Bracelet returned. The office lobby was busy again. Another normal Monday. James walked in, holding Emily's hand. She wore a new bracelet now, one they made together. But around her wrist was the old one too, the one her mother had left behind. Do you think she sees us? Emily asked. James smiled gently. Every day. And in that moment, the world felt full again. If this story touched your heart, if it made you pause, or reminded you of someone you've lost, or someone you've found, then don't just scroll away. Hit that like button. Share in the comments. What did you learn from this story? And don't forget to subscribe for more true to life emotional stories that stay with you long after the screen fades to black. Because sometimes one story can change the way we see the world. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.